Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the second part of our video body image distortion. Beliefs like, if I'm thin, I'll be loved.
Yes.
Why are these beliefs so common and how can we cope with them?
Here, of course, we can say that situations related to adolescence are also at play, or they may have developed as a result of a trauma. It's the same in psychology as well. Nothing appears out of nowhere.
Hmm.
There is always a reason for it, and it is tied to an experience. If I were thin, I would be much more admired. For example, here are some reasons that come to mind. Again, someone taken as a role model. For example, that person is very thin, very loved, or perhaps receives a lot of praise by showing off their body in a positive way. So they want to be like that person. And as they fail to become like them, they observe that they are not loved enough. Here, selective perception also comes into play a bit. For example, when she thinks or feels that she isn't getting enough appreciation from her boyfriend, a thought like this may develop. If I were like her, I would be loved a lot too. My boyfriend wouldn't treat me this way. These are actually thoughts and beliefs that reinforce the existing negative situation and bring about negative behaviors.
That's a cognitive distortion, isn't it?
Of course. Because there's no healthy situation there. Actually, the truth is this, what shapes how the other person treats us is the self-respect and self-love that we are able to reflect to them in the right way.
Mm.
The better we protect our boundaries and the more clearly we express our expectations to the other person, the more they will treat us accordingly. So it's not about you being very beautiful or very thin. And lately there's this new thing, it's not about how good that crop top looks on you or anything like that. I mean, people can easily notice the level of your self-respect and self-love.
Even when you walk into a place,
Yes,
it shows posture.
of course. So is the person anxious or not? Are they happy to be there? What are they thinking? Especially people who are highly skilled at reading body language can easily pick up on these things. At this point, what we call body image disorder actually stems from cognitive distortions. But of course, these are usually things that are also related to trauma. For example, it's said that obsessive family members, parents, can also cause these issues. They want to raise a healthy child, but end up being overly controlling and so on. Your arm has gotten bigger, you've gained a lot of weight, you need to watch your diet, and so on and so forth. And the child feels the need to adapt. In other words, they have a need to feel safe. Inevitably, they internalize those criticisms and comments, and over time, they start to feel as if those thoughts are their own.
Many mothers judge their daughters based on their appearance.
Yeah.
Is this really how you want to look? What are you even wearing? A child who grows up like this will most likely develop these kinds of issues. These kinds of anxieties.
The tendency to have them, the likelihood is high. I mean, why is that? Look, since we are social beings, we feel safe where we fit in. Parents, please pay attention to your words when you approach your children about this. I mean, you can still say these things critically, but instead of a critical tone, I think it would be better to approach them more compassionately, from a place of understanding.
So how can we deal with these?
Again, awareness. Of course, that's the top priority. That's actually the reason we started this channel.
Yes.
So that people can become more aware. A person is already their own sculptor. They can reshape themselves. Of course, body image disorder is something that can be treated. We can also treat ourselves. But in this regard, we need to increase our self-respect, self-compassion, and self-love a bit more. Other than that, for example, I see it's someone with self-confidence carries themselves differently. This really has nothing to do with your ideal weight, thinness, or anything like that. And I really admire them for that. I wish everyone could be like that. But of course, these kinds of situations often develop without us even realizing it.
Yes.
But once we become aware of it, we can bring these things to a healthy level. First, we need to start by loving ourselves. We may not be at our ideal weight, but we can reach it now. There are also many methods. I mean, we can now easily access a lot of accurate information. There are experts. If we make the right investments in ourselves regarding these things, we can reach the ideal. But how healthy is the ideal we have in mind? So first, be aware of this. We should first shape our perspective accordingly. Then taking action will be more appropriate. Body image disorder is actually a topic that is also related to the balance of gaining and losing weight, which we discussed in our previous video. Now, in recent years, for example, on TikTok and Instagram, this issue has become very widespread. Even people who see a woman with a sexy body making money from there,
Yes.
even if it's just a little bit, people can genuinely start to think, okay, perhaps I really should strive to be more like that too. Individuals who are perceived in that positive light tend to receive significantly more appreciation and indeed more widespread approval. No, that's not related to that at all. These perceptions actually change from era to era. For example, in the Middle Ages, it was the overweight woman. For instance, it was often discussed in terms of women.
Example, statues with fuller figures made.
Yes, that was more like that. In ancient Greece, in ancient Rome,
That also represented fertility, for example, having a fatty belly, having wide hips.
in the Middle Ages, an overweight woman meant she was from a wealthy family.
Ah,
That was the implication.
right.
Who would be thin in the Middle Ages? Those who couldn't get enough food?
But this has changed nowadays. There are some people, celebrities,
Yeah,
they become role models. At one point, wide hip surgery was in fashion.
yes,
Then everyone had those fillers removed. Being thin became a thing too.
yes.
Of course, that became a trend as well. Now there's a trend of going back to a curvier body. It's like capitalism constantly operates through the female body.
And it changes so quickly. Look, you're talking about the same woman, the same body, according to how many different beauty standards.
Yes.
I mean, she gets fillers, then removes them, or, with breasts she gets implants, then removes them.
Or those fine hairs on our face.
Yes,
For example, the device is made to remove them. But you hadn't even noticed them until that product came out until that day. Actually, everything is about marketing.
that's exactly how it is in capitalism anyway. First, the product is created, then the need for it is generated.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, I mean, is it really necessary to mess with yourself this much?
We call it awareness.
Yes, awareness. Love yourself, appreciate yourself.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This turned out to be a nice video. I think there could be a follow-up as well.
Of course, if you're curious about how your interest was sparked, we can continue from there.
Yes. Then, see you in our next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
See you in our next video. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments. We always answer them anyway.